KFC bucket and a 2-liter 7-Up. Thank you, sir.
They forgot to charge me for the drink.
You know how people say that Americans are too quick to sue? Well, here are 10 times people tried to scam fast food restaurants.
Ah! Police! I'm surrounded! They'll never take me alive!
From ridiculous demands to full-on fraud attempts, fast food companies have seen it all. McDonald's and weight gain.
My boyfriend thinks I'm fat.
The nutritional values of McDonald's meals has never been a well-guarded secret, and the majority of people know what eating there implies. Big Macs and chicken nuggets won't help you stay in shape. But while this might seem so obvious today, back in 2002, things were a little bit different. Two teens, Jaslyn Bradley and Ashley Pellman, tried to sue McDonald's because their regular outings to their local McD's in the Bronx had made them gain weight. They claimed they weren't provided with sufficient information about the health risks linked to a diet filled with frequent, if not daily, trips to the fast food chain. The lawsuit claimed that it was their addiction to McDonald's that led to their obesity, and that having known all of the health risks, they never would have let it get this bad.
You're one sandwich away from fat.
Yeah, right.
It's true. You have put on weight.
What?
Ultimately, the judge ruled that the two teens were responsible for their diets and that no one had forced them to eat at McDonald's.
And that's the truth, with some cheese on it.
The finger in the chili incident.
Oh, my finger.
The year was 2005. It was a quiet day at a Wendy's in San Jose, California, when suddenly shrieks were heard in the dining room. What could possibly cause all this chaos? A finger was found in the usually comforting bowl of chili. Ana Ayala was the unlucky woman who made the shocking discovery and attempted to sue Wendy's for this traumatic experience.
You already ate the gut bomb, though.
Yeah, but I can't help it that I didn't figure it out till I'd swallowed it all.
The only problem? She was the one who had planted the finger in the chili. Indeed, after some investigation, she finally confessed that she had gotten the severed finger from her husband, who had gotten it from a coworker injured in a factory accident. This little sneaky attempt at making bank landed her and her husband in prison, but not before Wendy's reputation suffered a lot of needless damage. Think about it. Would you want to eat at a restaurant where someone found a human limb in it? Real or not, people couldn't help but think about the gross encounter whenever they thought of Wendy's.
You got some in your beard. I'm just kidding. I got him big time.
The chain estimated a loss of $21 million in revenue following the accusations. Ana Ayala is now banned from Wendy's for life, and the chain is back on track. Idea thieves.
Something this good can't be kept to yourself.
Gary Cole, a Supermax prison inmate in Colorado, was furious when he heard about Taco Bell selling his idea of Doritos Locos Tacos and demanded justice. While serving his 25-year sentence, Cole had supposedly mailed a notarized document to his attorney with his idea for the tacos in 2006, 6 years before Taco Bell released its version.
All right, get your crunch on.
What?
Cole demanded an FBI investigation and even contacted the IRS about an idea or invention that was submitted to them by theft and fraud. Obviously, none of these things ended up happening, but he still wanted to take matters to court. He was representing himself, but the case was dismissed because of the 3 strikes rule. Basically, this rule prohibits inmates from filing civil lawsuits after 3 or more have been dismissed. Cole was apparently no stranger to the whole foolish lawsuits thing.
Oh, come on!
To be honest, no matter who came up with the Doritos Locos Tacos, we're just glad they're here today. Empty bucket of chicken.
This finger looking good.
In 2016, Anna Wurzburger from New York finally had enough of what she claimed to be commercial lies and took KFC to court for false advertisement regarding their buckets overflowing with chicken. She wasn't satisfied with the small portion she received in her order and said it did not live up to the expectations shown in the commercial. According to her lawsuit, when she received her bucket of chicken, there were only 8 pieces in it, which was not enough chicken to fill up the bucket, and that the ads had falsely stated that it could feed your whole family.
It's an infringement on your constitutional rights. It's outrageous, egregious, preposterous.
To build her case even further, Wurzburger said that this wasn't the first time her bucket was royally unsatisfying. She claimed to have made multiple purchases at her local KFC and was greeted with the same underfilled order every time. What did she want for her oh-so-troubling experience? A modest sum of $20 million.
Sometimes you gotta hit people where they feel the hurt.
Unsurprisingly enough, the case was eventually dismissed because of the impossibility to provide real and concrete evidence that a violation of the law had happened. The Lonely Napkin.
Get extra napkins when you order a hot and juicy Quarter Pounder.
In 2014, a man was taken aback when, while enjoying his Quarter Pounder, he realized he only had one napkin. Scandalous! How could you freely eat your food if you know the hazardous mess that's about to be unleashed?
Hey, you! Put the napkins back.
But before taking his case to court, Webster Lucas did try to take it up with the manager of McDonald's, only the interaction didn't go as smoothly as he had hoped. After asking the manager if he could get more napkins, he was told that he already had enough. Some comments were made suggesting prejudice coming from the manager, who developed a nasty attitude and mumbled a few words.
What do you mean, you people?
So Lucas left the restaurant. He decided to write an email to the general manager, who apologized and offered him free burgers. However, Lucas wrote back that he was now unable to work because of the undue mental anguish and the intentional infliction of emotional distress, and took the chain to court. And for a pretty penny, too. In his lawsuit, he demanded $1.5 million. The lawsuit was eventually dismissed, and Lucas landed on California's vexatious litigant list, which prohibits him from filing lawsuits for a while. Unfresh raspberries.
Hey, Homer, slow down. You're gonna choke or something.
Don't tell me how to eat donuts.
Back in 2016, Jason Sadian of California decided to file a lawsuit against Krispy Kreme for false advertising regarding their berry donuts, claiming they weren't made with real fruit. In his $5 million lawsuit, Sadian claimed he only bought the raspberry donuts because raspberries are supposed to be a rich source of vitamin C, vitamin K, potassium, and dietary fiber.
The cornerstone of any nutritious breakfast.
And help fight against cancer, heart and circulatory disease, and age-related decline. Basically, he was trying to score $5 million from a $1 donut, the definition of a scam. But the raspberry donuts weren't the only culprits targeted by the suit. The glazed blueberry cake, donut holes, as well as the maple ice glazed and maple bar were also at fault here, apparently purposefully deceiving customers. But whether it was because the sugar rush of the donuts wore off or the idea suddenly became ridiculous, the lawsuit was voluntarily dismissed and was never brought up again.
Stop right there!
Have a donut, copper!
No cheese, please.
Isn't that eternal damnation you're chowing down there?
You can't tell Michelle.
If you're a cheese enthusiast, you know that to get that melting gold, you usually need to pay extra. But it's all worth it in the end. Jeremy Jackson, on the other hand, had a very different opinion on cheese, which almost made him become a multi-millionaire by suing McDonald's for $10 million over, you guessed it, cheese. Contrary to what it might look like, he didn't sue the chain for forgetting to put the cheese on his burger, but rather for putting it on against his wishes.
You have got to listen.
Indeed, Jackson had apparently repeatedly told the staff to hold the cheese because he was allergic. To his surprise, after finishing his sandwich, he had to be rushed to the hospital after a severe allergic reaction. He probably could have gotten away with it if only he had actually checked his sandwich before he ate it. The case was eventually dismissed, only it wasn't the last time someone tried to get a few bucks out of McDonald's because of the cheese. About a decade later, Cynthia Kistner and Leonard Werner filed a lawsuit, this time asking for $5 million after claiming they had been charged full price for a quarter pounder with cheese, even though they ordered it without the cheese.
Someone explain to me what I'm doing here.
The 30 cents charged was, according to the couple, worthy of a much bigger sum, which was obviously not given. Monopoly shenanigans.
Monopoly at McDonald's is back, and it's easier to win than ever.
As many of you may know, every year McDonald's offers the Monopoly game promotion, which allows customers to win various prizes. But what some people might not be aware of is that for a while, this game was rigged. And not just a little rigged. Between the years 1989 and 2001, a solid 12 years, former Georgia police officer Jerome Jacobson had complete control over who could win the jackpot.
Come on, man.
As the person in charge of the distribution of the game stamps, Jacobson decided to make the most out of his knowledge and distributed the winning stamps to his friends and family across the country in exchange for a cut of the money or prizes. During his 12 years of ruling, Jacobson stole a total of $24 million from McDonald's. It looked like he was going to get away with it all until the FBI was tipped off about the mysterious connection the last 3 Monopoly winners had with a man named Uncle Jerry. He and several other people ended up being arrested for mail fraud and sent to jail.
I wish I could tell you that the Monopoly guy fought the good fight, and the sisters let him be.
After the story broke, McDonald's decided to retire the Monopoly game, at least until the dust settled. Too much ice. Cold drinks have ice in them. That's not something that should be surprising to anyone. Yet, Starbucks was sued not once, but twice for the way they made their iced coffee. The first plaintiff was Illinois resident Stacy Pincus, who filed a lawsuit against the coffee chain for putting too much ice in their iced coffee and that it was drastically reducing the amount of liquid in her drink. She claimed that Starbucks was trying to scam customers since they were getting less than what they paid for. She felt like $5 million in damages was good enough for her unfairly over-iced drinks, but the court didn't seem to think so, and the case was dismissed. The second person who tried to sue Starbucks regarding the amount of ice was Alexander Fruzesh, a man from California. Only this time, the case was not the only thing that was dismissed. His intelligence was as well.
Well.
To hopefully put an end to this nonsense attack on Starbucks, the U.S. District Judge said, if children have figured out that including ice in a cold beverage decreases the amount of liquid they will receive, the court has no difficulty concluding that a reasonable consumer would not be deceived by the ice. Starbucks even released a statement reminding customers that they were always welcome to ask for light or extra ice whenever they placed an order, and that if they weren't satisfied with their drink, they could also tell the barista, who will be happy to replace it.
Are you not aware that I get farty and bloated with a foamy latte?
The fake discovery.
Living in the 1400s got you down.
Yeah, there's no such thing as Dunkin' yet.
Finding something inedible in your fast food is everyone's worst nightmare, especially when that something is sharp and could potentially kill you. A woman in Louisiana had allegedly gone through this traumatic experience, at least before it was revealed to be a giant scam. Carell Bradley claimed she found a razor blade in her unnamed fast food sandwich and went to Mercy Regional Medical Center in Eunice to tend to her injury. Initially, she refused to file a report to not cause anyone trouble.
Max Club sandwich. And heads up, I lost a Band-Aid.
But it was revealed that the injury was self-inflicted. Plus, the blade seemed to be new and showed no signs of having been mixed with anything. And the cherry on top of this lie, minutes before she purchased the sandwich, Bradley was caught on security footage from a local store stealing a pack of razor blades. She also sought out a personal injury attorney the same day and had already filed an insurance claim with the restaurant's insurance company. Everything pointed to the obvious, resulting in, you guessed it, charges of criminal mischief and theft.
Perhaps spending the remainder of your life in a madhouse will teach you some manners.
Stick around, leave us a comment, hit that subscribe button, and tap or click on another great video.